Welcome back aboard Blurred Force One with your boys Mo and Lottie. And today we are reviewing Loki Season 2, Episode 5. It's entitled Science Slash Fiction, and it's coming to you from Disney Plus. So, what did we think about it, and should you be watching? And before we get into this review, get down there, hit like on this video. Lottie, the TVA is just gone, and Loki somehow is still around at this, in the TVA. It's really strange. How the hell does he survive all of this? And where did everybody go? And the unraveling of the temporal loom, it seems to be a hell of a lot more important than maybe we were led to believe. And thanks a lot, Space Karen. So this is a big monumental episode that really, in my opinion, delivers on the promise of the previous episode of huge things that are affecting all of space and time, and Loki being uniquely situated to deal with these problems. But first, you're gonna have to figure out the whole time slipping and if he can get the band back together. So, Lottie, I feel like I summarized that pretty well. What do you think about this episode? That in my opinion, just it's almost rewriting what the MCU is going to be about going forward.
Yeah, I this episode I really liked this. I really enjoyed this episode. I also was like, okay, so they pretty much created a Vox, Deus Ex Machina. If anything gets right, reset button.
Like, wait a minute, wait, that's not how that went. Let me start over again. I'm like, man, Prince of Persia for real? And not only did it Prince of Persia that shit, it literally had the sands of time, or the threads of time, if you will. It was what
Didn't you notice that all the people in the TVA exist at a moment of time that is very integral to the MCU's timeline? Didn't you notice that? Every single one of them. What's it called? Was Ouroboros was in the 90s. That's when what's her name came back to Earth. Um, uh, Carol Danvers came back to Earth.
right.
Um, eight is it B15 2012
Yep.
Avengers 1.
True.
What's his name? Mobius 2022, which I think is Endgame, isn't it?
I believe it. I think Endgame is 2023. So, but
So it's like Infinity.
it's
It's it,
Infinity
but it's,
War because Infinity War takes place in 2018. Endgame is 2023. But I mean, I'll see your point though. What
yeah,
about
they're all.
what about Casey though? Casey is in the 60s. I don't know that he has anything necessarily to do with that, but I did think it was really
Isn't that the what's his name? The year when he was still a young man.
when
What's
who
that dude's name? Uh, what was the guy's name? That's when Event wasn't that the year that Shield was created, wasn't it? The 60s? It was the 60s, wasn't it?
uh Shield was it created in the 60s?
I want
I'm not
to say
really
it was
sure
the
the
60s.
significance of it. But I did like the fact that he was one of the guys that escaped from Alcatraz that they never found. I thought that, in fact, if you actually track it, he is the character that was played by Clint Eastwood in the movie Escape from Alcatraz. So very
Mhm.
interesting. He's a much different person than the Casey we know. This was it was so interesting. Like an episode where there's a lot of talking going on in this, but also it's full of sci-fi shit. Like the whole creepy ass way that that the timelines are unraveling, and so you're literally seeing entire universes like disappear, and it was in terms of visualization. This was such a trippy and like disturbing like visualization of the actual consequence the TVA going away. And because I was always like, who cares if the TVA goes away? Who cares? That just means timelines are just going to go all over the place. It'll be infinite. That I'm thinking like Sylvie, right? But no, literally, with the TVA gone, reality itself is just like dying.
Oh,
And
I was completely. I knew Sylvie was full of BS. When I was like, this woman's full of BS. I know that the TVA is holding everything together. Like one thing that I trust. There's one character that I trust in the show that actually truly knows what they're talking about, and that's Ouroboros. Ouroboros wouldn't just if it would be just fine, he wouldn't be acting the way he's acting. Even his past self, who doesn't know anything about this, is like, oh snap!
and of course,
All a
yeah,
lot.
and of course he's a theoretical physicist. Of course he is.
Yeah,
and and I love one thing I love about this show is it's the writing is so thoughtful. Like they do little things to tie everything together to make it make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like just
yeah.
the whole little bit of Loki seeing himself and seeing himself looking at a TVA guidebook and just like pocketing it, and then that Chekhov's gun is hugely important to the rest of the episode. It's just stuff like that, or the time slipping, and you realize if you think back to all this time slipping, every time he time slips, it really is like as the more he does it, the more he's a little more voluntarily, engaged in what's happening. He doesn't think it's happening, but it is. So if you go back and look at his time slipping, you're like, yeah, he did get closer and closer to, people he knew or something like that. So there's just a lot of, in the writing, a lot of thoughtfulness, in the visual translation of the scripts, that was very thoughtful. So that I never felt like they wasted any time in this episode. I didn't feel like they were lingering on anything. I didn't feel like, they were just, sort of doing things just for like, oh, the impact of, oh shit, this is happening. Everything seemed to matter. And I appreciate that, because I felt like earlier in the season, they were just lingering. I'm like, what are you doing? So the fact that every minute here seemed vital was huge to me.
Also, I might be reading this way too much, but who was that walked into the store?
That who
And
walked
then
it?
remember, there was a person that walked into the CD store, and then
Oh yeah,
immediately the
yeah.
place started unraveling.
Well, that's the beauty is it's a person. The thing is that and that whole scene with Sylvie, just like, oh, I'm in my reality. I'm just gonna live my life, and then literally watching it unravel before that her it's so disturbing. Like we thought the snap. Remember Thanos' snap? That was disturbing, right? Just watching people,
Yeah.
disintegrate into dust. But to see reality itself literally come apart, and she just like dips out, and eventually there's nowhere else to go except to Loki, and even there, everyone there disintegrates, and
Even
and,
she does.
and she
And
said,
here's
she's
that
got the temp
question
pad
though.
that can go anywhere, and she's like, there's nowhere else to go.
And here's the question: how come he's the one that's surviving all of this?
Yeah, it's his.
Because she has somewhat of what's the word I'm trying to use? She has somewhat like negation to the temporal, like the temporal stuff that's happening, because she still has her memories, but clearly it's not like end all be all, because she could still be, if she could still evaporate into nothingness,
Yeah,
while Loki is the last thing that remains. Like is he chosen to be the next He Who Remains?
I
Is that what he was trying to do?
I feel like he's entangled somehow, or somehow he's entangled. I don't know either with maybe not Kang, but something at the end of time, and maybe that's why he's able to stay. But because we haven't explained the time slipping, remember his time slipping is something that happens in other outside of the TVA, but he's the only person that's ever time slipped in the TVA, which should be impossible.
Exactly.
So he
And it's like, what's
clearly,
his name?
yeah, he clearly got some kind of power upgrade at the end of last season that we're just not completely aware of. And up to this point, we thought it was, it was a curse, and now it's a blessing.
It's like Mobius. Like Mobius. I mean, old Burrow said it pretty much. He has what we call in the comic book world. He has true time travel ability, and people will go like, What do you mean by true time travel ability?" In the comic book world, and you know this, is that usually when you go back in time, you're not going back to your time. You're going back in time in another timeline.
Yeah,
He
where
has
every time
true.
he travels backwards, and every time he does, if in the MC, if you travel backwards, you create a branching timeline, because
Yeah,
from
he has true time. He has true time traveling abilities. Like it is 100%. He can travel back in time and affect his own timeline.
yeah,
That
well,
is true.
he in essence he has Marty McFly powers.
Yeah, like that's true time. That is actual true. Because the thing about it is they subtly hinted at it in the first episode, and then they hinted at it again in this episode that his time travel is true because that is the same Loki that said, "Hey," and he looked up. That was the same exact Loki. That's not a different Loki from another timeline. That is him from the past saying hi to his future self.
Yeah, it's it's very he works in a there's a lot of closed loops within there, a lot of paradoxes and closed time loops and everything like that. Like I said, the writing is basically airtight in here. Everything makes sense if you think about it. And
Yes.
I just thought this episode was great, seeing the true personalities of all of the TVA members that we've known so far, and just seeing them eventually, basically coming together Ocean's 11 style, and then disappearing, and Loki admitting what we've all known, that they're his friends for the like Loki. It's not just that he's traveled like a major character arc. He can finally admit that maybe his terrible purpose isn't to conquer or what. He just wants to, have his friends and care about them and save them, and have them himself matter in their lives. And to admit that to Sylvie, that's what he wants. He wants to save his friends. I was like, that's beautiful. And Tom Hiddleston just going off. This man is just acting his ass. Everyone in this show is really acting their ass off, but as the centerpiece of this show, he is just doing so much heavy lifting. And I admire the shit out of what's happening with this show. This is top tier Marvel. I don't whatever anyone's. This is top tier Marvel to me.
I agree.
Yeah,
This is a really good show.
yeah, God, I can't wait for this finale. It's going down. This is the sort of thing, if you to get people excited for, Kang Dynasty and all that. This is what we need. So not more people need to be watching this. Like, I know a lot of the movie people aren't going to watch this, but this is the show. If you watch any damn Marvel TV shows, this is the one, because it is priming the pump for Kang Dynasty. So
I agree.
anyway, I guess that's all of our thoughts on this episode. But what did you guys think about it, and what did you think about what we had to say? Get down there to the comment section, leave your thoughts there, and of course you can always hit us up, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com. It's Super Not Funny Show on Threads. You still can check us out on Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. And while you're down there, do us a favor, hit like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. All that good stuff helps to grow this channel, helps more people to see these videos. All right, thanks for joining us. Come back next week. We are going to talk about the season finale of Loki season 2. Look, it's probably it's gonna be a barn burner. So we are prepared for all the crazy stuff that's about to go down, and just come back and join us. Till then, I've been Mo, your commentator extraordinaire on all things pop culture, joined by the anime expert, video game designer, and lover of all things superhero, my good friend Lottie. And we'll see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.
Peace.